The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday the 31st of October, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter Hellball Burns.
I don't know.
Yeah, and she's a variety content creator and host of Xbox ANZ Rewind. Somehow both super chill and super excitable. It's Galaxy.
Hi.
It's Galaxy Oz.
No.
So, what? Yeah. No.
Galaxy Oz.
No, well, it's Oz, but I can't get rid of it. It's just because there is some user on Twitch that has the name Galaxy but doesn't stream. You know, so.
We talk with Twitch regularly. Do you want us to figure something out?
I mean, I've tried, and they said they can't because there's a user that. Yeah. Anyway, that's my story. One day I can drop the AUS.
I did it for you.
Have we considered putting a extra X in there or two L's or
there's an extra Y on your Twitter?
Double A.
There is because I couldn't. Yeah, there's an extra Y on Twitter and an extra Y on Instagram. Yeah, my dream is just
putting an H
Galaxy
on the end because that worked for me.
Ausch. Galaxy Ausch.
Yeah, and you get it everywhere then.
Yeah, sure. Let's try it. No.
No. Fucking TikTok. No. And there's the Nick boy out there. You know who you are, and this is why I don't use TikTok because you've taken my fucking handle. Anyway, Galaxy, a delight to have you. Would you prefer Steph or Galaxy? Actually, I should have asked you before the call.
I don't mind either.
All right,
name is Steph.
It's lovely to have you here. Tell the people if they don't know who you are. They certainly do know how to spell your name by now. A little bit about yourself, what you do on the internet, and a little bit about Xbox ANZ Rewind.
Yeah, sure. Hi. I stream on the internet, as we all do now. I play variety games on Twitch.
Modern hellscape.
Yeah.
Also, right now.
Exactly. It's meta. It's pretty meta. So I stream on Twitch roughly 3 to 4 days a week, play variety games. We're playing through Cyberpunk at the moment. So that is twitch.tv/GalaxyAUS. But yeah, I recently just got a job at Xbox hosting their news show, which is Xbox ANZ Rewind. It's like a news show going over the past month of Xbox. First stuff is coming out today, actually. So that's pretty exciting. That's my first hosting job. And I still don't believe that it's real.
So if it's coming out today, can you give us a peek? What broke over the last month that we should have spoken about on this show?
I'm pretty sure you probably covered everything on the show. It's about Overwatch. It's just all about the stuff that's on Game Pass and the new controllers that are out, the Lunar Shift and Mineral Camo controllers. I think, it's just a 3-minute video that's coming out today. And then there'll be a part 1 and a part 2 that'll come out throughout the week and next week, I believe. Yeah.
And is this YouTube or socials or everywhere?
Both YouTube and socials. So the 3-minute one is for socials, and I think it's going on EB Games socials as well. And then the longer form ones will be on YouTube.
Nice.
And I've only seen the cut of the 3-minute one, and I don't know, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's so cool. It's so cool.
What is less cool is what Simon points out, which is that I am basically a PlayStation presenter, and you are an Xbox presenter, and so we are the new console war.
No. When everyone plays, we all win.
That's not what PlayStation told me.
PlayStation say kill the enemy.
Yeah, kill the enemy, and they've now said kill Steph.
It's fine. I literally just proved that I can switch sides.
Good, cool.
I'm not looking at 3 PlayStation controllers at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we are very excited to have you on the show, Peter. Let's move on because the news, as sparse as it is not going to break itself. This is presented by one of our top stitch patrons, the best evil person we know. Sleep. It eludes me constantly, every night. I don't know how I'm going to go on. I mean, Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students across the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. There is a link in Nightbot. Head to tasteofmultifish.com for more information about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. Let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of the backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. And Stephanie, start us off with a story.
Oh my God, you called me Stephanie, and now I think I'm in trouble.
You are.
You are.
Oh, shit.
Because Xbox have not released enough banger news articles to cover this week's news. So tell us a story that made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
Okay, it's the Bayonetta 3 voice actor hullabaloo. Like, this stuff is... I've been watching it unfold on Twitter, just in shock and awe. So, like, if you're not up to speed with it, basically, I think maybe it was 2 weeks ago, the original voice actor for Bayonetta, Helena Taylor, she released like 3 videos on Twitter basically claiming that they only offered her $4,000 to voice this iconic character in what she's claimed is a $450 million franchise. Definitely not. I don't know where she got that figure. But yeah, so was calling everyone to boycott the game and instead donate to charity. And she was also trying to incite some hatred against the new voice actor, Jennifer Hale, who we know and love as Fem Shep. At least she's one of my favorite voice actors. Anyway, she had nothing to do with it, but she also started saying that, you know, Jennifer Hale is not Bayonetta, blah, 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 blah. Turns out that she lied. Shock horror. So she's gone and claimed that she was only offered $4,000 for the entire game. Turns out that they offered her $15,000 for the entire game, and she turned that down after asking for a 6-figure payout. And then they offered her a smaller role for $4,000. So it was not as Bayonetta 3, it was as a different character for $4,000, and that's what she's claimed was the Bayonetta payout. She's tried to explain herself really poorly on Twitter. And then she also included in that thread a list of charities that you could donate to instead of buying Bayonetta 3. Turns out one of those charities is an anti-abortionist group in, I think, Kentucky, somewhere in America. Yeah, it would be, right?
If you had to pick.
Predictable. But the weird thing is she's from the UK. So I thought that was weird as well. I mean, also, please don't ever donate to anti-abortion rally groups. These are the people that picket out the front of abortion clinics. Pretty bad. So she's done that. And obviously everyone is extra angry at her now. There's 2 things to be angry about. But then almost in retaliation, the voice actor who plays, I think it's Viola, I don't know how to pronounce it, in the game Bayonetta 3, she did a stream and raised $5,000. She streamed Bayonetta 3, raised $5,000 to donate to trans rights, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so it was a bit of a 2 weeks worth of drama. It's been my one thing on Twitter that I've been following because at first I was like, oh no, $4,000.
I feel personally attacked. You know,
tell us more.
I was so emotionally invested in Helena Taylor getting justice after that initial video. And then and now I feel dirty, you know, for sticking up for her. She betrayed me. Me, specifically.
You. The person with no dog in this fight and no interest in playing the game. Yeah, it's one of those shitty things where you go, you are morally right in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that does need to be addressed and spoken about in terms of like fair pay for voice actors, working conditions for voice actors, unionization for voice actors, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you've done this in the worst possible way, and you've turned a bunch of people against your cause, which is just so like it's just such a the Froget is also cursed situation. Like it could not have gone worse for her. But I think that at least there's a conversation that's happening around it. Yeah. Because
But
it's
the
not just the
problem
money as well;
is,
it's also like
though-
working conditions for voice actors as well. If you aren't paid enough, then you need to take so much more work to be able to live, and taking more work puts more of a strain on your voice. Because I think that we talk for a living, but we kind of. I yell for a living, but we're mainly just talking normally. We're not doing voices, and we're also not being told, "Hey, I need you to scream like you've just been stabbed with a spear in the gut 40 times. Go!" And so that can really wreck your voice, and you need a lot of downtime as a voice actor to be able to properly maintain your instrument. And you can't do that if you're jumping between jobs because you're not getting paid enough.
Yeah.
I do think that the issue here, though, like it's great that we're talking about it now, but she has now created the dialogue that voice actors are liars. So I think that hampers it as well.
They are actors, aren't they? Like
Yeah,
none of them are
that's what they do
pretending to be
professionally.
themselves. Yeah, like
yeah, they
they're
lie
always-
professionally.
Like her hair, like Helena Taylor's hair has never turned itself into a costume for her, and so
I mean, as far as we know.
That's true.
that's true.
We don't know her life.
But but also if she came in and said that, no one would believe her now, even if it was true.
True, unless she proves it.
Yeah,
We need receipts.
Yeah.
yeah.
Look,
Show us your hair.
I think people see the bad faith like act of one person and are able to not just generalize that to all voice actors.
You hope so.
I would.
It is
I
the
would hope
internet we're
so.
talking about.
It is the internet we're talking about.
Do you think it was bad faith though, or do you think it was like this?
I do because she
this is the only-
misrepresented it. I think she could have said they offered me $10,000 to play this character, and I would have been like, "That's way too little."
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
just don't lie, and start the conversation about how that's unfeasible to like be doing a role that has this many voice lines that will consume this much amount of your time, and you can't put food on the table. So being a voice actor in the games industry is a struggle, even for a character as big as someone who's voicing a character as big as Bayonetta. I think she would have accomplished the same conversations because I don't think it was necessarily about the number being 4,000, but like a 4-figure instead of a 5-figure. I think it was about the way that she presented the information. I think was really good. She said like it was a very it's Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trying to save their dogs. It was just like,
oh god,
in front of a white wall. It was just a confessional basically with a camera. There was no kind of structure around it to make it to give it more importance than the words, and I think the message she had was important. But she lied, and she just totally undercut her story by lying in a thing that she was obviously going to get caught out on.
no one fact checked her.
Well, that's it. I mean, like, the way that she presented it was that the 4K was the initial and only offer.
Yeah.
And that is outright a lie. And she's tried to backtrack that by saying, I said I was offered 4K for a role. And it's like, but you didn't mention the 15K.
And also, I believe in that first video, she didn't mention the role was like it was like a guest appearance thing, like it was framed as though it was the Bayonetta role.
The Bayonetta role, yeah.
Yeah. Super messy, super messy. Very like I feel like no one wins out of this one, which really sucks.
Nintendo have won, and Bayonetta 3 is reviewing like it's 88% on OpenCritic.
That's
it's
true.
doing gangbusters.
That's
I mean,
true.
there's
So
probably a whole
actually-
bunch of people that are buying the game that wouldn't have
Yeah.
because
Sorry,
of
so
this.
actually, the takeaway is pay voice actors less because it seems to work. Like the less you pay them, the more successful your game is going to be.
Please
That's
don't.
what I feel like is the lesson that
That's a good
on-screen talent is totally different step. On-screen
Yeah.
talent, like you can't replace a face, even though my story is exactly about replacing a face. But voice actors, disposable. That's what I understand. Peter.
Yeah. Game Pass might be getting more expensive. No. So
You mean like the Xbox that wasn't going to get more expensive, but now is?
yeah, exactly like that. Potentially. Speaking at Wall Street Journal conference earlier this week, Phil Spencer,
Phil Spencer.
not name another Spencer. Wait, I've got one. Diana. She was a Spencer, right?
That's a great
She was a
one.
Spencer.
That's a great one. But she didn't die a Spencer, so does
That's
it
true.
count?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wall Street Journal conference earlier this week, Diana Spencer said, "I do think at some point we'll have to raise the prices on certain things. But going into this holiday, we thought it was important to maintain the prices. We've held price on our consoles. We've held price on our games. And our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things." What does that mean? That means that between games, consoles, and the subscription, there's going to be a price rise on one or all of those.
My guess is all.
Oh, Fit for Purpose rated us as well. Thanks. Welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Fit for Purpose. Welcome. Welcome, I am Fall from Grace, and all the people that come along with that.
How many things did you burn this morning? How many
Calories?
Calories.
No, kilojoules is Australian. That's more accurate.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It is, yeah.
We're talking about Phil Spencer or Diana Spencer hiking prices on Xbox stuff, and Steph,
It's definitely
you work for Xbox,
Diana.
so we're going to be glaring at you the whole time we're talking about this.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well,
I'm freelance talent. It's fine.
I will say that, like, literally, what was it? 2 days ago, you announced, or maybe 3 days ago, you announced that you're doing the Xbox thing.
You got
and
an extremely high-paying job with Xbox.
Yeah, and that was roughly when Xbox were like, "Oh, we need to start charging everybody more money." And so I'm not saying that it's not. Yeah.
Look, Nick, you did say that
coincidence.
faces aren't replaceable, so
That's true. That's true.
yeah.
How much am I paying
It's
for
on me.
Xbox now? I think it's $15 a month, $15.95 a month for Game Pass.
Old
I think
cost.
so.
Yeah, so Ultimate across Xbox and PC, I believe, is $15, and then it's a little cheaper if you just get one system, one platform, either Xbox or
Yep.
PC. We've seen for the first time in any generation ever, PlayStation upping the price of their hardware, which has kind of opened the door for Xbox to potentially do that. We've seen game prices keep rising, so I wouldn't be surprised if first-party games are the thing that go up by 10, 15 Australian dollars retail. But I would think that they would be the most hesitant at the moment to be upping the price of Game Pass, because the last kind of 2 internal targets they've set for Game Pass subscription increases have not been met. They had set a target for themselves for the 21-22 fiscal year of getting a 73% growth rate, and they achieved a 28% growth. So significantly less than they were hoping for. And I can't imagine that upping the price of the subscription fee is the thing that's going to incentivize more people joining. They're not looking to shrink the platform. They just, I think, struggling from a lack of kind of big first-party titles to hook people into that Game Pass service. So I don't think that Game Pass is kind of first on the block for getting a price increase. But yeah, like I have left my Game Pass subscription rolling, I feel like I get enough value out of it month to month. Even if I'm just playing a couple of small things, $15 to me is a reasonable price to pay if I'm playing 2 games on it. Even if I only play a few hours of each, $7.50 a game per month, like, to me, that's totally justifiable. Do you guys feel the same, or do you feel like you're not getting enough out of Game Pass, Steph?
I think I've probably played 3 years worth of my Game Pass subscription with Disney Dreamlight Valley alone.
Yeah, okay.
But like, I'm not a business person, and I'm sure like they have got lots of analysts doing these figures, but isn't the growth going to slow anyway? Like, the more people that join Game Pass, like, that's not exponential, right? Once you've already got Game Pass, you've got it.
Yeah.
I'm not signing up again. Like,
Totally. I like the idea that there's actually 3.5 billion people that already have Game Pass, so there's not 78% growth available.
Yeah, where's it going?
Everyone in the world has it already.
Yeah.
But you're totally right. Yeah, it's like there's only so much of the market that would ever be interested in it, and how much of that market have they tapped into? Because the headroom for growth is only as big as whatever's left over there. So yeah, it depends on kind of like a number of factors, obviously.
I mean, I'm sure that the potential is still, like, I'm sure their targets are set with some sort of realistic idea in mind that, like, everyone I know has Game Pass, but then I've got, I say everyone I know who regularly plays games, but I know tons of people who don't play games as much, who just play 2 or 3 things a year. They don't have it, and it's kind of like, I think that's who they really want to be getting. Particularly as people, like, if the difficulty is, like, you either need to own an Xbox or own a hardcore gaming PC or have really good internet to do the streaming thing. And all 3 of those things feel like they're all kind of tied together. Like, that is the trifecta of someone who's already really into video games. And lots of people I know who don't have Game Pass don't have any of those 3 things, because why would you have a hardcore PC if you're not massively into playing video games already, if you don't have an Xbox? And also, like, massively fast internet is required for a lot of the things that we do, which is download 100 gig games, but it's not required for watching Netflix. So that tapping, I think, is I think it's probably significant that slowed down. I do think that the thing I would say that with Game Pass, because I love Game Pass, I think it's amazing, and I'm constantly playing things on it. I've got it open right now, and there's like 4 things that I've installed over the last week that I'm either actively playing or looking forward to starting. I would say that they would hike the price for the next huge Xbox game that comes along, because that's probably the thing that gets people to en masse sign up to Xbox. I think it's when, like, Plague Tale, I would say, would have got some people to sign up to Game Pass, but really it's going to be like a Forza style thing, a Halo style thing, a Fable game where you go, oh, I'm actually saving $100 by signing up to Game Pass to play this. And it's the huge marketing push that everyone is talking about. Like, it's one of the 3 games that my mates who don't really play video games will play each year. That's probably the time that people sign up. The next month is when you you raise the price of Game Pass by like $2 a month or something, because everybody's already on it. You're at the highest possible amount of people, and then that starts ticking over. But I don't know. Like, I still think it's really good value. Like, it's still cheaper than Netflix, or the Netflix subscription that I'm on, at least, which is like the 4K and a couple of screens at a time. I'm still paying less for Game Pass than I am for Netflix, which is pretty crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I can't help but see it as just like the most interesting thing that's happening in games right now. Like, for me, I look at the 1S and Game Pass as an onboarding thing for anyone in my life that I know has a kind of a passing interest in video games. I go, well, like, if you just wanted to get in and play a bunch of stuff, that's the way to do it. Get yourself hardware that's totally reasonably priced and powerful, and access to, a huge library of games at a subscription fee that you can cancel anytime. Like, that's the way to go. If I had that as a kid, I would play every single thing that hit it.
Totally.
Well, I don't have
Samsung
time to
TV.
do that. Yeah. My
Sorry,
You
God.
have the Samsung TVs with Games Hub now. The 2022
that's right,
Samsung
they're putting the
TVs
TV,
that have, so maybe that will help with the...
And I said that the streaming thing needs good internet. I don't have great internet, and I still I use that pretty regularly. Like I use that with my Steam Deck a ton. I use it with my phone. Banjo is playing the Paw Patrol racing game with the iPad and just a controller hooked up to it, and all of that is totally works well enough. And I think that has also been that thing. And I think I've said this before, but it's like Netflix, where you go, well, even the Netflix 4K plan is not as nearly as good a quality as Blu-ray, but it's good enough, and it's convenient enough that it's kind of I could sit down and turn something on, and I'm instantly watching it, and that's kind of all I really need. And that's what Game Pass is. Game Pass is it's good enough. The streaming stuff is good enough to play, and so I will do that over having to wait for a game to install or something. So, yeah, I think it's probably worth. It's probably the one thing in video games that I would be happy to pay more money for. Yep. I don't like the idea that games in Australia cost over $100 because that is. I understand they cost so much to make, but it's just so much money to spend if you're trying to buy multiple games a month. But Game Pass is the one thing where I'm I want to make sure that everyone is being paid properly for this. And I understand that while Xbox have a never-ending well of money, it's not actually never-ending. And at some point, they're going to have to start making a profit on this stuff. So, yeah. Cool. Well, then the third story for this week that caught my eye, it's just a couple of Witcher things. So the first being that CD Projekt Red, they'd come out. Was it last week? I think we covered it last week or the week before. A couple of weeks talking about all the new games that they're going to be making. There's a bunch of new Witcher games. There's going to be 3 games released over the course of 6 years. There's going to be the Cyberpunk sequel is coming as well. And one of those games was called Canis Majoris, and we didn't know what that was. They said it would be a full-fledged Witcher experience, I believe was the phrasing that they used for that. And it turns out that the game is actually going to be a full remake of The Witcher, the first Witcher, which most people probably haven't played. It was PC only, and it is real rough. It's a rough game. It is a rough game. And they are doing the full, apparently rebuilt from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5. It's going to be made by Fool's Theory, a developer that CD Projekt Red have worked with, and that CD Projekt Red will be sort of overseeing all the creative decision making. So I am. I recently did a debate at PAX about the value of remakes. I know that a lot of people get annoyed with things being remade, and it's new games aren't being made, whatever. I think you can look at this scenario as being, well, CD Projekt Red announced, here's a ton of new games that we're going to be making. One of these is going to be a remake. It's going to be a remake of the first game, which most Witcher fans would not have played. And it's also interesting because it's it will be really interesting to see what this game turns into, because you cannot do a remake of this game. Have either of you played The Witcher, the first one?
I played half an hour, maybe an hour of it when we were capturing footage for something, for Good Game, maybe. And
I played about half of it. Sorry, Pete.
You played half of it?
Yeah.
I own it.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, yeah, it feels like such an old game. It was, CD Projekt weren't the big studio that they are today when they made this. And it really wasn't until after The Witcher 2 that they kind of found the success that we know them for today, that that speaks of a style of game that feels interesting and different. And this was different, but in really clunky ways. And it is pretty much unplayable even when I played it 6 or 7 years ago. I found it really just an unenjoyable experience. So I would be really excited to see I think the Witcher world lore is fascinating and really cool and perfect for a video game. And as Witcher 2 and 3 have proved, I would like to see more of a Witcher 2 style, a bit more linear than Witcher 3 remake of this, capturing the story from this first game, presenting it with all of the upgrades to CD Projekt's kind of engines and stuff. It's probably going to be made in Unreal.
It's Unreal 5.
Yeah. And getting to experience the story that kind of set up The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 in a way that is much more playable today.
Steph, are you into The Witcher?
I love The Witcher. So they're some of my favorite novels of all time. So I've read them all. I love The Witcher 3. I've never played 1 or 2 because I never had a PC. I own them though because Steam sales. I buy things all the time and then they sit there. But I'm also someone that can't go back and play janky games. And The Witcher 3 was janky enough. Right? So,
Yeah, totally.
and like I like CD Projekt Red. I'm playing Cyberpunk at the moment, so which is also janky. So yeah, I wouldn't
have the
ever be able to go. Yeah, apparently. But I wouldn't be able to go back and play these. So I'm excited for a remake. I'm someone who loved like the Final Fantasy VII remake. It's making these older games that still have fantastic stories completely playable to a new generation. So I like remakes a lot. What I'm
The
scared
Final
about
Fantasy-
though.
Oh, sorry. Go.
No, go.
No. I want to hear your fears.
Tell us your
And it better
fears.
not be about the game. It should be about you.
Spiders.
Spiders. Clowns. Should I go on?
Yeah. I want to get into the
Dying
nitty-gritty.
alone.
Yeah, there you go. There it is.
No, what I'm scared about is CD Projekt Red have not learnt from the Cyberpunk fiasco, and they've gone ahead and they've teased a ton of games, and we're all going to be waiting for them. And yeah, I don't know. It's a mess waiting to happen. Waiting to happen.
Waiting to happen.
It's early. I don't get up. So yeah,
There's probably a bit. The fact that this is being worked on by a different developer probably helps a bit. That it's not internally developed. Obviously, it's still going to have a bunch of oversight, but the grunt work's going to be done by someone else. But again, we said this when they announced all their news. It's like, oh my god, you guys always get in trouble for crunch culture, and like you take forever to make these games, and you've just announced like 7 titles that you want out in the next.
Yeah, right. Like I've only been able to play Cyberpunk now. And I bought it on release, but I'm a console gamer and it just kept crashing.
Not work.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Again, to me, that's why I hope that they don't, so much about Cyberpunk CD Projekt's kind of trajectory has been about pushing the envelope of what is possible for their studio. And, that's why The Witcher 3 is a bit janky in areas. That's why Cyberpunk didn't work, was that they were trying to execute beyond what they had done in the past, so they were really stretching their kind of like stretching themselves past their kind of limits. What I hope for this game is that it is a much more refined, smaller, focused experience, and that will hopefully combat a bit of the problems that CD Projekt, their development studio, has, which is just being spread potentially too thin across too many ideas. Just tell a really good story in a classic kind of linear action game way with a beautiful new engine, I think would be the best way for me to experience it. In the same way that I feel like Final Fantasy VII Remake did, was we're only going to do a quarter of the game. Because otherwise it's just way too much of an undertaking to accomplish. So we're going to do the first kind of part of the game in this new style, and you're going to be exposed to Final Fantasy VII in that way. And then maybe we'll do more if it's successful, and it has been, so.
I think that the Final Fantasy comparison is probably the most spot on. I don't think it'll be as radically different as Final Fantasy VII is, which is so, like, they've added so much. But this game is, like, unplayable, quote unquote, for a modern audience. I feel like particularly I think that part of the reason that you do this is the same as how Last of Us was remade, of going, we want people in the future who discover these games to have all these games accessible in kind of the same level of quality, that there's a consistency across these. So if you go back and play the trilogy, we want all, like, I can't imagine they're not going to do the second one as well. You can play all of them and they'll all kind of feel like The Witcher 3. The combat in this one was totally different. It was almost a rhythm-based combat system. It was kind of like hitting sword swings and stuff with prompts that build up combos, which is totally different than the third game. Narratively, it was fine. It was the most sort of like edgy of the 3 games. I think it had the least humanity in it. It was very much like, this dude fucks and kills, and he fucks and kills his way across Rivia. So I think that they'll probably beef that up as well, flesh out a lot of the characters. The thing that, like, there's no way it's going to stay And I remember this when I was playing it, just going, "What am I looking at?" Because of course, The Witcher 3, like the romance stuff in The Witcher 3, is a huge part of the game. Like the shipping and the sex and all, like the relationships are just a massive part of that game. In this one, Geralt like fucks everything. It's insane. Like he is just he. Yeah,
Well,
100%, Pete.
yeah.
With the sex scenes, like I don't know whether it was a limitation of technically at the time or whatever, or because there was, as Sickney said, 24 women you can sleep with in the game, and they just technically didn't have the time for it. You would romance someone, you dialogue options, blah blah blah. There would be a sort of half undressing scene, and then it would dissolve, and what would come up is the most. Like, it's the most gross fucking way that this could happen. But a collectible card, like a Gwent card, would come up of the person you're sleeping with in like a sort of like 1900s porn painting of
like
them.
the whole
it's
set.
like them, yeah, and it's them naked posing in some way, and they are really gratuitous. And so it is literally like you did it, like another notch on your belt, mate. Congratulations. And it's very gross. So I'm sure that is not going to stay.
Yeah.
So he's like James Bond, but grimed down.
Yes, 100%. Like it's total. Like he had no depth in this game. Yeah. So I think that they're going to end up changing a ton. But I think that this is one of those games where you go like, this is the prime candidate for a remake. Like you said, Steph, most people cannot play this game. Most people will not play this game. Should they? I reckon that if you make a game that's like Witcher 3, if you add everything you've learned from making games since then, particularly because it's so different from 2 as well, and 2 was great, then it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty special. So it's interesting that's happening. And then the other Witcher thing that sort of came out a couple of days ago is that The Witcher the TV show has been renewed for a 4th season, but they're ditching Henry Cavill, or he's ditching The Witcher, and they're replacing him with Liam Hemsworth, which I think is just... Like, I'm sorry, but that is like, I don't even like the Witcher show. That is such a downgrade. That's like Liam Hemsworth is like tonight for Halloween cosplaying as Geralt. That's the level of respect that I have for that. Like Henry Cavill is iconic as that role, and it's just it just seems an interesting choice, I suppose.
Basically,
I don't
what
know.
they've said is we're renewing it for a 4th season, but you're all going to stop watching after season 3.
100%. They didn't say why it's happened. It seems to be pretty amicable, and I think that some of the rumor I saw is that because Henry Cavill is like Superman again, that the schedules are just not going to work. And
I'm sorry, though. Why choose Superman over Geralt?
Yeah, I mean the paycheck.
DC have made bad movies,
Yeah.
and the Superman movies.
Yeah,
like would the paycheck be worth? Like The Witcher is.
yeah. The paycheck would be
name
way
another
better for
fucking
DC.
Name another fucking Netflix show that gets to 4 seasons as well. Like it's one of their flagship shows. I mean, yeah, it probably would be better, but he's already had Superman paychecks. I suppose he really screwed him by coming back. He was like, yeah, got to make it worth my while. Still, it's sad to see, and it's I don't know. I'm sure Liam Hemsworth is a very nice guy, but I mean, he's not even the best Hemsworth, let alone the best Geralt.
He's the 3rd best Hemsworth. Even the brother that had that small role in
Westworld.
Was like, oh, that guy's good. I had an initial. I balked at this initially, but the more I think about it, and I'll understand if you guys disagree on this, but like, I don't think Henry Cavill's a good actor. I think he's been fine as The Witcher. I think Liam Hemsworth is at least as good an actor. They're probably on par as like middling. They just look sexy. That's what they do, and that's fine. And when Henry Cavill was cast as The Witcher, I rolled my eyes at that as well. I was like, that's dumb. That guy sucks. So I am willing to give Liam a chance. Is kind of that's kind of where I've landed. I'd be happy to see him in the role and see if he has the physicality to do it, because that's all that Henry Cavill has is a physicality, and he's very good at going, and just like slightly
Maybe.
moving.
I don't know. I don't know if my ovaries are ready to give Liam Hemsworth a chance.
Okay.
They're already dedicated to Henry.
Yeah, they're dedicated.
Dedicated. He's in your will. When you die, they will be sent to him. I think, Pete, your Cyrus bias might be showing with the Hemsworth thing. It's like any man who Miley loves is a man that.
Oh, Smiley Cyrus.
Yeah.
They're divorced. She no longer loves him.
Yeah, no, but she did. She
did
saw
at one
something
point.
in there. I just think I think the biggest, because I agree that I don't think Henry Cavill's the greatest actor of all time, but I do think he has a presence.
He has
I
a
think
presence.
he has a strong fucking charisma and presence, and it's enough that he has stamped his name on the ovaries of a streamer in Australia. So, like, can Liam Hemsworth say the same? I don't think so. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes. It's boring, inconsequential news, but two Witcher things. The Witcher news just keeps on coming. All right, there's literally all the video game news that have this week.